The compact luxury crossover segment continues to be one of the hottest segments here in America. Lexus figured that out about 6 years ago when the company first introduced this vehicle, the Lexus NX crossover, based off of the Toyota RAV4. Now, it quickly grew to become one of Lexus's best sellers, with the company moving around 60,000 units. And this particular one here is the 2021 NX300h, the hybrid version that gets around 31 miles to the gallon. Now, typically, this Lexus crossover is one of the best ones you can buy from the Toyota portfolio. However, for 2021, there's also this vehicle, the 2021 Toyota Venza, which is essentially based off of the next generation NX platform, which is the current generation RAV4. This also comes with a hybrid-only powertrain. However, it gets nearly 40 mpg and offers up 25 additional ponies over its Lexus sibling. So the big question I want to answer, if you guys are looking for a compact to mid-size luxury crossover, should you be looking at the Lexus, or should you save some money and go for the Toyota Venza? That's what we're here to find out. Now, when you're comparing a Toyota versus a Lexus, you have to talk about the pricing first. I want to first get that out of the way. This Venza Limited is around $43,500, while the Lexus here, this is around $50,300. So what does your extra $7,000 buy you? Well, when you lift up the hood, it does buy you hood struts, as opposed to the prop rod that the Venza has. However, let's talk about the powertrain, because you'd think these are pretty identical. However, they are slightly different because this is based off of the previous generation RAV4. It starts out with a 2.5 liter Atkinson cycle 4-cylinder. This is the older 2.5 liter that offers 154 horsepower on its own. It's paired with 3 electric motors. All-wheel drive is standard. The rear electric motor is what powers the rear axle that offers like another 54 horsepower. Combined, the Lexus offers 194 horsepower and 199 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers are matching the output that we found on a 2018 Toyota RAV4 hybrid, and fuel economy is rated to get 33 in the city, 30 on the highway. Like I said, all-wheel drive is standard. It all goes out through an eCVT, a continuously variable transmission. The Lexus does tow. If you guys tick an option for a tow package, it'll give you a 1,500 pound maximum towing capacity. And this one, as it sits, it weighs in at around 4,180 pounds. So the NX is pretty heavy. Lexus says you'll get to 60 in around 9.1 seconds. 9.1 seconds, ouch, that's about 2.5 seconds slower, or 2 seconds slower versus the turbocharged NX300. Now, in contrast, let's look at the Venza, which also has a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder that runs on the Atkinson cycle. This is their newer dynamic force engine that offers 176 horsepower on its own, so already about 20 more horsepower versus the gas engine in the Lexus. It's also paired up with 3 electric motors, a separate rear electric motor that powers the rear axle to give you all-wheel drive as standard. The Venza offers 219 horsepower. So remember, this is the new powertrain that's in the RAV4 hybrid that should make its way over into the NX in the next year or so. It all goes out through an eCVT, and unfortunately, if you guys are looking to tow, the Venza isn't rated to tow, surprisingly. This is not rated to tow, but if you guys want a vehicle that can tow, the RAV4 hybrid will tow a maximum of 1,750 pounds. The Venza, as it sits, weighs in at around 3,900 pounds, so even though this is the bigger vehicle, it actually is less heavy versus the Lexus, which surprised me. You should get to 60 in around 7.5 seconds, so the cheaper Toyota is actually faster than the more expensive Lexus. Now, looking at the styling of both of these crossovers, obviously styling is always subjective. However, you can't deny that both of them have a very distinctive look. In fact, the new Venza to me looks a lot like a Lexus. The Lexus to me looks a little bit sportier, but this looks like the more premium, upscale, luxury-oriented vehicle. Now, so let's talk about the styling difference here. Let's start with the Lexus. This, of course, has the big Lexus spindle grille. The hybrid model, of course, has the blue Lexus hybrid badge. My particular tester here is painted in this very attractive shade of nori green. You have these premium triple beam full LED headlights. They're like a $1,500 upcharge. You also have these this little Nike swoosh of an LED daytime running light and turn signal, which is nice. The Lexus also gives you LED fog lights down here. Overall, the grille certainly looks a lot hungrier in the Lexus. It is made even worse if you guys spec up the F Sport package, which this one does not have. Now, in contrast, the Venza has a cleaner, smoother, more luxury car look to the design. You have these dual projector LED low and high beams with an LED daytime running light and turn signal. The Venza does not offer fog lights, but you can see the front fascia is slightly less aggressive. You have almost an interpretation of the Lexus spindle grille. There's definitely more chrome trim on the Venza, which is surprising because the Lexus is the luxury badge. However, this vehicle could easily wear a luxury badge or a Lexus badge on the front as opposed to the Toyota badge. Now let me talk about the side profile of the Lexus first, because the Lexus, as I said, is based off of the old RAV4, which makes this vehicle the smaller vehicle. Its wheelbase at 104.7 inches long is about an inch shorter than the Venza, and at 182 inches long, this is a little bit smaller than most of its competitors. Something like a BMW X5 or X3, for example, is around 4 inches longer than this vehicle. The 18-inch wheels that come with my tester are part of the premium package. They are actually an inch smaller versus the wheels you find on the Venza. However, they're riding on 225/60 width tires. These wheels, they're pretty much just what you'd expect from Lexus. They're more comfort oriented, not going to be anything sporty. Now, in contrast, if you want to follow me over to the Venza, this vehicle is based off of the new RAV4, as I said, which makes the wheelbase a little bit longer. It's also a little bit longer as well overall at 186 inches long. This is about the size of something like a BMW X3. So don't be surprised to see the next generation NX basically be this size. The Venza also comes with bigger wheels. These are a 19-inch wheel wrapped in 225 width tires. You also get a little bit more ground clearance with the Venza. This offers 7.7 inches, while the Lexus only offers 6.7. Neither of these vehicles are really rated to go off-roading, which doesn't surprise me. People in this segment aren't going to be doing that anyways, but you can get something like a panoramic roof on the Venza. However, it doesn't actually open. It just offers that ability to kind of frost and defrost the glass, which you can't even get on any Lexus products. From the rear of these two SUVs, the more premium vibe of the Venza is shown, especially when you look at the overall rear design language, where this doesn't really resemble any other Toyota product versus the Lexus looks pretty much like every other Lexus vehicle. I do like how both of the vehicles have full LED rear taillights. You can see the Lexus has LED turn signals, LED brake lights, LED reverse lights. They did refresh this design a couple years ago. In contrast, the Venza has a very Jaguar-ish look to it. It has these full-width LED taillights. The LED turn signal, however, is all the way down here in the lower bumper, along with the reverse light. I kind of think this is a little too low a placement. My guess is it may be hard to see this if you guys are, from the rear of the Venza and you're up really close to it. I think Toyota should have made the LED turn signal over here. It also would have been nice to see a sequential LED. Toyota offers that on the Toyota Avalon. Now, looking at the cargo areas, this is where, again, the Toyota has a clear advantage over the Lexus because this is the slightly bigger vehicle. However, Toyota offers around 28.5 cubic feet of space in the Venza with the second row up. If you fold down the second row, you get around 55 cubic feet of space. The load floor here is pretty high. I do like some of the metal trim accents here, but this does have a reduction in cargo capacity over the RAV by roughly 15 cubic feet. So again, this is better than the Lexus, but it's still not wonderful. Now, in contrast, here's the rear of the Lexus, and as you can see, my camera guy has a good amount of gear in this vehicle, and it only offers 16.8 cubic feet of space. 16.8 is practically the same as something like a mid-size sedan, to be honest. Now, if you fold down everything and get rid of this cargo cover, you get around 54 cubic feet of space. So about the same as the Venza. However, the Venza offers a little bit more, floor to ceiling space versus the Lexus. Both of them kind of have that slope down roof line that does eat up into the cargo capacity. So remember, if you guys want more space, be sure to just buy a Toyota RAV4. All right, so we talked about the exteriors, we talked about the trunk capacity, we talked about underneath the hood, but let's focus in on the interior because this is where your extra $7,000 is supposed to be spent on the Lexus. Now, first getting inside and shutting the door. The door has a relatively solid sounding thunk. Remember, this car came out back in 2015. It was based off of a RAV4 that came out back in 2012. Now, here's the key fob for the vehicle. You can see it's the typical Lexus key fob. It does have a blue hybrid badge to show that this is a hybrid Lexus model as opposed to being just a regular one. Lexus puts the button here to fire up the engine over up top. When you do that, you can see there's a power tilt and telescoping steering wheel, which is nice, and the vehicle kind of comes to life. Lexus added a bigger 10.3-inch screen a couple years ago. They also added Apple CarPlay and Android Auto last year, so this now finally has some modern tech conveniences on it. You can see the bigger screen is hugely welcome. It allows for a split screen design. This, however, is not a touchscreen like you'd find in the new Lexus ES or the new Lexus RX. It's way too far for that. Instead, you have to use the lovely trackpad here, which is horrible. Still one of the worst ones in the industry. So I kind of wish Lexus had pushed this forward to make this a touchscreen. Now looking at the rest of this cabin, typical Lexus quality here. You have really nice soft touch materials with some genuine stitching here. This is a faux stitching over here. There's some imitation carbon fiber look trim, which isn't fooling anybody. I'd much rather have the luxury package on this vehicle and get the real wood. The door panels also have the same faux stitching with the soft touch materials. There's some real stitching here, and the window controls have that typical high quality Lexus feel, but there is a little bit of Toyota cheapness that I find in here. Remember, the NX is supposed to be on the lower end of the totem pole. Luckily, there are nice features like heated and cooled seats like my tester has. You have a 12-way power adjustable driver's seat with a just 2-way lumbar position. The Venza, as you guys will see, has a 4-way lumbar, so I'm surprised to see that this does not have that upscale touch. And then of course you can see here the gauges are slightly unique to the hybrid model. Instead of a tach, you have this power meter. However, if you guys go to sport mode, it actually brings you a tach there when you switch it over to sport, which is kind of cool to see it transition like that. Remember, it's kind of like a digital display. I also like how the wheel is heated. That's a $150 upcharge with the paddle shifters, which is nice. When I put the vehicle into reverse, my tester has the panoramic view camera, so you have the full top-down 360 camera, and the graphics are fine. This is pretty much on par with a mainstream offering, but some of the luxury brands offer a better resolution camera. Remember, Lexus has better systems in their higher end vehicles. Now, in terms of space, the NX still feels pretty small in here. I have kind of like this cramped feeling because the dashboard comes out. You have this pretty wide center console. This shifter here is pretty old. It controls the CVT. You have some, additional buttons here for your drive mode selector. You have a volume and a tuning knob over here. Still has a CD player, which is kind of reminding you again how old this vehicle is. And then over here you can see there's a nice area where you can rest your hand while you're using the trackpad, or lift this up and there's a little convex mirror here for those of you who want to, I guess, do your makeup or whatnot. It's kind of like a magnifying glass. There's a nice padded armrest over here. Open this up, you got 2 USB ports in there. You have pretty decent storage, so this is pretty much what I expect. And then if you guys are looking for a pano sunroof, Lexus doesn't offer it. Instead, you can just option in this regular sunroof that's part of the premium package. So overall, the cabin still feels a little bit tight. The glove compartment here, before I forget, is damped and lined with felt. It's actually a pretty good size. So this cabin definitely still feels like a Lexus. It still smells expensive in here, but it's pretty cramped. So let's hop into the Venza and we'll see how the Toyota compares to the Lexus. So now that we've set our expectations up pretty high with the Lexus, let's hop into the interior of the Venza. And I have to say, the Venza has a pretty similar step-in height, but I'm noticing how much more spacious feeling the cabin is. It's still not like, a RAV4, but this does feel more open and airy versus the Lexus. When I shut the door doesn't sound quite as solid. It's a little bit hollower sounding versus the Lexus, so I'm guessing the Lexus is heavier. Toyota has added more sound deadening materials in the Lexus, which is what I expect. Now, here's the key fob for the Venza. It's the same one that you find on something like a Land Cruiser or the Toyota RAV4 Prime. It has the blue hybrid Toyota badge and a Venza badge on the back. It's their smart key access system. Toyota puts the button over here in the center console versus the high position in the Lexus. I actually prefer it down here. When you push the button, you're noticing the steering wheel is power, tilt, and telescoping, which is nice. I wasn't expecting that. You get that feature on the XLE and up trims. This Limited, of course, comes standard with it. And what's really nice is the Toyota actually has the bigger infotainment display. This is a 12.3-inch display. It's also a touchscreen, which is nice. It's bigger versus the Lexus by about 2 inches, and it also gives you that split screen view. I like how it's a touchscreen. Again, this is what Lexus should have done with the new NX. But this bigger screen definitely is a huge upgrade. It is included when you guys go for an XLE Premium standard on the Limited. This is the same one that you see on the new Toyota Highlander. Now, looking at the rest of this materials in here, you'd think the Lexus is far ahead of the Toyota. However, it's really pretty close because just like the Lexus, you have some genuine soft touch materials in here with some real stitching. This is the same soft touch leather on the seats that you find on the dash here. It's also soft touch over here. I like this kind of contrasting bronze piece here that kind of contrasts the interior with the aluminum look trim. This area here is a soft touch injection molded plastic. It's hard touch plastic over here, but it's kind of back here, so you're not going to be touching that all that much. The door panels also have the same soft touch materials with the contrasting stitching. The window switches, it's one touch automatic up for all 4. Not quite as clicky feeling as the Lexus, but that's kind of okay. It's still a very nice feeling interior. The Toyota also has a nice 10-inch head-up display, and you have this digital rear view mirror, which you can't even get on the Lexus. So again, these are features that are new that Lexus will probably be introducing on the next generation NX. Now, I also want to briefly talk about the sound system. My tester here has the optional 9-speaker JBL system, which sounds okay. It sounds decent. It actually has 2 less speakers versus the Toyota RAV4 on which this is based. The Lexus, in contrast, has a 14-speaker Mark Levinson system, which does sound better. So again, it's an extra $7,000. The Apple CarPlay you can see here doesn't give you the ability to take up the entire screen like you can in the Lexus, but The graphics and resolution is crisp. The screen itself is responsive and easy to use. When I put the vehicle into reverse, it gives you a full top-down 360 camera, which actually has better resolution versus the Lexus. It also looks better on this bigger screen. So again, keep that in mind. What I don't like about the Venza are the touch-sensitive buttons over here. You can see lots of capacitive controls here for your audio system, for your climate control. There's just a volume button here as opposed to a knob. Toyota should have just done with a knob here. If you guys go for the base LE Venza, you actually have traditional hard buttons and knobs, so keep that in mind if you guys don't want to go with the touch sensitive stuff. You have a wireless phone charging pad over here, which the Lexus didn't offer, and then you have a drive mode selector here. It's a little bit more simple in the Toyota. You just have Eco, Normal, and Sport, and it doesn't give you a tack like it does in the Lexus when you switch it over to Sport mode. Over here, there's a nice center console area with 2 cup holders, and then over here, this armrest also slides forward and back. It reveals the heated and cooled seats, which the seats offer a 12-way adjustment in the Venza with 2-person memory. You also have a nice little center console here with 2-level storage, which is nice. And then over here, you can see the glove compartment is damped but not lined with felt. It's about the same size, I want to say, as the one in the Lexus. And then above me, you can see there is some LED lighting and this really cool roof, which allows you to frost and defrost the roof at the touch of a button. However, it doesn't actually open up. Keep in mind, if you guys want a pano roof on the Venza, this is your only option. If you're looking for a regular sunroof, Toyota doesn't offer it on the Venza. You have to go for this big roof, which does not open. Now let's take a look at the rear seat of the Lexus NX, because remember, this isn't their smallest crossover. However, it doesn't offer that much space versus its competitors. Lexus says you have around 36 inches of legroom back here. It's not bad. I'm actually surprised to find that the floor is almost completely flat, which is nice for putting 3 people across. You have rear seat air vents back here. You have 2 map pockets. However, if you're looking for features like USB ports, heated rear seats, Lexus does not offer that on the NX. You have to step up to an RX if you want that feature. What they did include, however, are these really nice perforated new Lux leather seats. These are the faux leather. If you guys want real leather, Lexus charges another $2,000 extra. The seats also recline a little bit, which is nice. They don't slide forward and back, but you do have this armrest here that folds down and gives you your cup holders over here. So overall, the back seat of the Lexus is definitely usable, but I believe the Venza offers more space, so let's hop into that and check it out. Now, compared to the Lexus NX, the Venza's rear seat is more spacious. However, I'm noticing the door here doesn't open up quite as large, which could make this a problem if you guys have to open up the rear doors big enough to get a car seat back here. But once you're back here, you can see Toyota says you get around 37.8 inches of legroom back here. So about 1.5 inches more legroom. In the real world, it doesn't really feel like that much space. This doesn't have any more space versus the Toyota RAV4 on which it's based. The floor here is not completely flat like you find in the Lexus. However, you do have these rear seat air vents, which is nice. You have 2 USB charging ports down here. However, if you guys are looking for heated rear seats, the Venza doesn't offer that feature as well. You have to, again, look at something like a Toyota RAV4 to get the heated rear seats. Now, in terms of the materials, Toyota actually puts soft touch materials back here as well, which is similar to the Lexus. I actually also like the light wood grain trim, which this wood is fake, but it looks better than the fake carbon fiber aluminum trim in the Lexus. And if you fold down this armrest here, you can see it gives you 2 cup holders, and the Toyota also offers rear seats that slightly recline. However, instead of a lever at the bottom here, Toyota puts the lever at the top, so that is a little bit less convenient to use. Now above me, you can see that panoramic roof does let in a lot of light. Remember, this roof does not open. Instead, it just has the ability to frost and defrost the glass, so it's kind of very Mercedes-ish. However, it doesn't frost and defrost itself in a very elegant manner. It just kind of happens really quickly. But still, you can't even get this feature on a Lexus, so props to Toyota for introducing something like this. So I know a lot of you are probably wondering, why on earth would I want to compare a Toyota and Lexus? I mean, the Lexus is clearly going to have the better driving dynamics. It's going to have the better interior, it's going to be quieter, it's going to be faster, right? Well, not necessarily. So let's first start off in the new Venza. Remember, this is based off of the new TNGR architecture, which is different versus the current Lexus NX, which is based off of the previous generation RAV4, which should be getting a full redesign very soon. This interior, however, feels pretty nice. You have a larger screen versus the Lexus, which really shocked me, and this hybrid powertrain makes about 30 more horsepower versus the Lexus. Now, it does give you the ability to creep along in EV-only mode, although not for very long. You can see there's the gas engine coming on. Floor it. And you should be looking at 0 to 60 in around 7.5 seconds. It is perfectly adequate. The engine itself is buzzy and loud. The CVT is responsive enough. And, you know, with those 3 electric motors, this vehicle does feel relatively peppy. I'm impressed. This is a great driving hybrid SUV. It's just not going to drive the way an enthusiast would prefer with its noisy four-cylinder, its groaning CVT, but you can't argue with the performance and the responsiveness of it. The steering of the Venza is also pretty good. Remember, Toyota has been trying to take more of a sporty or leaf with the design of a lot of their vehicles, and it really shows even in something that's just supposed to be a kind of a mainstream crossover like the Venza. Flooring it there as I turned, you actually felt a little bit of a kick from the electric motor in the back as it rotates the rear around. It feels good. The Venza feels very nimble, it feels very planted, it feels very Lexus-like, aside from the groaning engine, but as we hop into the Lexus NX crossover, it has the same kind of groaning engine, although I suspect it's going to be quieter from more sound deadening materials. Visibility in the Venza is also pretty good. The view out of the back's not horrible as well, even though it has that sloping roof. Steering is responsive enough. The seats also are plush and comfortable, although these are not real leather seats. The Lexus has real leather seats, which I noticed feel noticeably much more comfortable, which I would hope it would. It's significantly more expensive versus the Venza. You're gonna have to pay for that somewhere or get something for that money. But I do like the responsiveness of this, newer hybrid powertrain. The 2.5-liter dynamic force engine offers more horsepower and torque. You get more combined horsepower. You get better fuel economy in this vehicle as well. In my week's worth of testing, I averaged around 34 miles to the gallon, which is about 5 miles per gallon more than what I got in the Lexus. So this is a much more, improved vehicle in terms of fuel economy. So that doesn't really surprise me. It's got the more efficient powertrain dynamics. Now, in terms of everything else, does this feel Lexus-like to me? Yes, it does. Aside from the leather on the seats, which isn't real leather, it's got better tech, it's got a good visibility, it's got good safety tech as well. This is the newer version of Toyota's Safety Sense 2.0 versus the older system you find in the Lexus, which just beeps annoyingly. I much prefer this system. So it's really surprising. If you guys want a Lexus crossover that's a hybrid, that's a good, like a compact to mid-size size, this actually may be the better option. But let's hop into the Lexus NX and let's see if that Lexus badge and the extra money, even though that's an older platform, can still kind of surprise me into choosing the Lexus over this Venza, which is supposed to be a step below. So in a perfect world, I should be able to get into any Lexus vehicle and just think to myself, wow, this is significantly nicer than anything Toyota currently offers. However, we just got out of the new Venza and now we're in the 2021 Lexus NX300h. Remember, this is an older platform, but Lexus has always done a good job with offering interiors that feel substantially nicer versus their Toyota counterparts. And I have to say, this cabin does have some nicer materials. However, it's not substantially nicer, especially considering the price delta of these vehicles. I'm also noticing I'm missing a heads-up display, which is not available in the NX, and that really cool digital rearview mirror, also not available in the NX. You have to go up to a higher trim or newer Lexus vehicle to get those features. Now, this is down 25 horsepower compared to the Venza. Let's switch it over to sport mode, which gives you this cool little tack that shows up magically when you switch it to sport. Yeah, definitely noticing the sluggishness of this powertrain a lot more. I mean, the Venza will get to 60 in around 7.6 seconds. This vehicle takes closer to 9 seconds. 9.1 actually is what Lexus claims. Let's try it here from a dead stop. Yeah, this is pretty unacceptably slow considering the Lexus badge. Compared to the gas-powered turbocharged NX, this is about almost 2 seconds slower 0 to 60, which very, very sluggish response there from the CVT. Really unhappy. The new Venza is just way more snappier with the newer hybrid powertrain with the additional 25 ponies. The CVT's also been adjusted. This is just painfully slow. This is like Corolla slow. And even the new Corolla is faster than this vehicle, so that's kind of an insult. Clearly, Lexus has some work to do with the next generation NX, so you're going to notice it right away driving the two back-to-back. The Venza has the superior powertrain. I also noticed in my real-world fuel economy testing, the Venza got 32 mpg on a highway loop that I drove, where I literally drove 50 miles straight on a highway route. The same driving route in this Lexus got me around 28 miles to the gallon. So there's a 4 mpg difference compared to that, and it's constantly because I was dipping into the throttle of this vehicle to maintain speed with traffic, and just the efficiency of this powertrain. It's the older technology, it's not quite as efficient. Now, where the NX does shine compared to the Venza is in the sportiness factor. The NX definitely feels like the sportier driving vehicle. The steering is a little bit heavier. It's pretty much the same in terms of quickness. The suspension doesn't feel quite as harsh. It just feels like a heavier vehicle. The Venza already feels substantial and heavy, but this actually feels like a slightly heavier, slightly sportier driving car. And in terms of quietness, they sound about the same to me. You know, usually you'd assume Lexus is going to be the noticeably quieter vehicle, but you know, driving the Venza and the NX back to back, they sound pretty much the same, except for the fact that you have to listen to this groany, drony 4-cylinder moan a lot more in this vehicle versus the Toyota. In terms of seat comfort, I do find the seats in this car to be slightly more plush, which is interesting because this one has the new Lux leather, so it's not the real full leather that you have to pay an extra $2,000 for to get the luxury package. But I just like the seats. They're more cushioned, more padded, and I also like the Mark Levinson sound system in this car. It sounds noticeably better versus the JBL system and the Venza. So those are two winning factors, of course, with the Lexus. The driver assistance tech, the Venza's, is also the 2.0. This is now the Lexus Safety System Plus 2.0. They both work equally okay. Nothing class leading, nothing earth shattering, just gets the job done, and it comes standard on both vehicles at any price. So with Lexus selling roughly 60,000 NX in America every year, this is a very important model for the company. It's actually Lexus's second best-selling model. The Lexus RX is the one that sells over 100,000 units. So this is a very important vehicle for Lexus. And as you guys saw, the current generation NX is getting pretty old. This came out back in 2015. And when you compare it to other crossovers, other luxury crossovers, you really start to see a lot of the NX's weaknesses. However, it does have a couple of strengths. I still think this is a really great looking vehicle, especially in this nori green pearl exterior color. I still think that it offers a lot of practicality, and with 30 mpg combined, it still gets pretty decent gas mileage. However, when you look internally at Toyota's own lineup, this is where the Venza's strengths come into play, because this Lexus here starts at around $40,000 for the hybrid version, around $37,800 if you guys go for the regular gas-only version. This one here starts at around $32,000. The limited model that I'm showing you is around $43,500. It makes the Toyota around $7,000 less expensive, and honestly, after looking at the two vehicles back to back, I actually noticed that the Toyota is the one that actually feels nicer. Sure, the Lexus has slightly nicer materials and the Lexus badge, and if you guys like the look, you're gonna want this. However, for $43,000, the Venza is technically the better Lexus, so until the next generation NX comes out in 2022, my money would be on the Venza, because this is just the better vehicle to live with. It has better tech, it has more space on the inside, gets better gas mileage, and it's also significantly faster. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this comparison test between, of course, the Lexus NX300H and the new Toyota Venza. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.